Lance Hall here for Let's Discuss with Lance Hall. Happy to welcome Brandon Gibbs to the program tonight. Brandon, how you doing?
Oh, God, I'm doing great, man. Thank you for having me on your program.
I appreciate the time as well. You are out in Iowa this evening. You got a new single out called My Own Way, but I want to talk to you first. I saw some post about you were at Field of Dreams.
Correct. Yeah. So I'm trying to the 11th or the 12th, and my dates might be foggy. We got asked to play the Field of Dreams event, which is what I don't know if you caught any of it, but oh my Lord, what a wonderful event. And it was a 2-day event, and we were the headliner for the Friday evening. Right. And man, the storm blew right as we finished our sound check, and but it didn't stop the vibe. I can't explain the vibe that was there. It was so peaceful, and so many people were there to chill and check out this iconic event. Kevin Costner was in town. So before we left, like, our show essentially got canceled. Before we left, there was a group of people that hollered at me. I'm showing Iowa, hollered at me, from a porch. And they said, hey, anything you need. And so we were soaked, we and the staff, everyone was soaked. And so I went and changed my shirt in their home, which I normally don't do. And I just felt good. I felt good about it. Yeah. And my daughter used the restroom, and it was just right outside of our main stage. Anyhow, I said, you know what, guys, I said, before we leave, we're performing on your porch. And all of a sudden they started texting, and coolers of beer started piling up. And so before we left, we did 4 songs on a porch facing our stage. And it was just the coolest, I'm so proud of my group and everyone for allowing me to do that, because that's something usually they would tell me, no, you're not going to do that. We were very, I don't know, just so blessed that anybody wanted to weather the storm to hear us. So that was the story.
That's one of those memories that you never really forget, though. I mean, that's as cool as playing Madison Square Garden. You played on this guy's porch. That's awesome.
Just the way they were blown away, and that made my rainy show day, that made it so much better.
Yeah. Now, did you get to stick around for the game?
So
for the game as well?
No, we weren't for the game. Unfortunately, the guys that I used had schedules, with the airlines and things. And but I went to my favorite pub and watched the game. And again, like Kevin Costner said, it was perfect. It was the coolest, as an Iowa boy.
Yeah.
One, to be asked to entertain. I don't know. I mean, there's not a whole lot. That was one of the coolest things I've done. I can tell you that.
Very, very cool. Let's talk about your new single, My Own Way. Came out August 9th for Golden Robot Records. You got a great video for it. Songs about the journey, the ride, the lovers, the haters, the whole 9 yards, which you've definitely ridden that ride and gone on that journey when I was reading your bio.
Yeah.
Just a culmination of everything that came together for this tune.
Well, My Own Way, I didn't grow up necessarily like the neighbors. I knew what I wanted to do as a musician, as a songwriter, and I knew what I wanted to do at an early age, and it was instilled in me. And I was fortunate enough to have parents that knew this thing wasn't going away, right? This dream. And so, over those years, you hit different milestones, and we did so much touring and so much work in the early years that let us play, as kids, preteens, with Foreigner and George Thorogood and REO Speedwagon, Poison, and all these things as they went by, we created relationships with these bands, and because we were easy to work with. We would do our opening set, we'd play in front of 5,000 people or whatever, and we'd just be out of the hair. So we were known as someone that was, as a group, that was easy to deal with. And it just opened so many doors. But I mean, the haters, I guess you could call them, I don't really enjoy that term, but the people that rallied behind us when we were, and still to this day, when I was an underdog, and maybe I might be still 1 foot over the fence, but I was safe, and I had all this support until I started getting things moving up the rung. And then all of a sudden, perception of me was I didn't care about people that were there for me in the beginning. And I had to address that, and it's like all the kids went off to college and did wonderful things, and I went off to my own college and created my own way. And I speak at schools and stuff about bullying or succeeding. And the truth of the matter is, the universe can't deny you. If you wake up thinking about it and go to bed and you dream about how to make it better, the universe ain't going to get in your way. And so my goal is just to kind of tell my story. Like, if it's in your heart and it's on your brain, put the time in and you'll get it. And it's just that simple.
Thinking about that, I'm trying to think of how I want to phrase this to put this thought and this question out. Particularly when you're in school, music and stuff can, like you say, can be such a double-edged sword. You got the people that lift and the people that want to put you down. And you take like a kid that's into metal, so many times they get harassed for what they wear or their hair or something. But yet at the same time, when you join a band, if you're in a real kick-ass band, you sort of become cool as well. And it's just got to, your brain's got to go snap, crackle, pop at some point when you're 16 years old trying to go through all that crap.
Yeah, and that's another reason I do the anti-bullying. And I mean, no kid should have to walk down the hall with their head down. School's a place to learn. It's a place to find who you are and get educated, but also make friends. And there's a lot of kids then, man, that walk with their head down and because of what? They don't fit in. They're not a jock. They're not. They're on the swim team. They're not this and that, but they're into art. They're into martial arts or something like that. And they're there so they don't fit in. And that was kind of my way. I didn't necessarily fit in, but I did have some friends. I just, I didn't really get to go to many proms or anything like that. Because on the weekends, my parents would take our band to go play in front of, Poison, something like that. So I don't know. I just think that kids need empowered. And if it's on their mind, let's let them set the parameters and not necessarily us breathing down their neck, because it could be a whole big beautiful thing if we just let them coast.
Do you find nowadays, and I was talking to an old classmate of mine about a year or so about this, do you find there's, though, the tolerance level is a little higher now with the kids? They seem to be a little more accepting of everything that people want to do if you want to be slightly apart from the norm, I guess is the way I'll phrase it. Do you find there's a little more tolerance now as opposed to like the old days?
As opposed to when I was growing up, for sure.
Yeah.
For sure. There's people that are smashing goals, and the kids that create art. And again, I bring up martial arts a lot. That was a big part of my growing up, is I enjoyed martial arts. There's kids that go on to be boxers or, who knows, UFC. But when I was in school, it was XYZ.
Yeah.
Once you get this degree, you can become whoever you want. And I always said, I'm becoming exactly who I want right this second. Exactly. And yeah.
Did I read correctly, though, at one point you wanted to be a pro chess player?
You did read that correctly. You did.
Okay.
my grandpa was everything to me,
Mhm.
and my dad had a chess table from Mexico. They took a trip to Mexico when my dad was a kid,
Mm.
and my dad had just started the game, and my grandpa bought him this iconic. Well, to me, it's iconic. It's a wooden chess table that folded open, and I just took to it. I said, well, we got to figure out what's this game about. And I saw the movie Searching for Bobby Fischer, and the kid was like my age, and I went after it, and I only won one tournament, but to be honest, I only played one tournament. I just beat there was a little chess community at the YMCA, and I would run in there, and sometimes I'd get my butt kicked and sometimes I'd come out, but I was infatuated with the game. It wasn't until my father bought me a guitar with an amplifier that had the word distortion on it. And I went, nope. I'm
Done with
I'm
chess.
sold.
Well, that was a white Stratocaster, right? Your first guitar?
Yeah, how'd you know that?
It's all there. It's all there on the internet. You just got to dig for it.
Oh, I love it. Yes,
Yeah.
It was a white Fender Strat, and it looked like a jumbo body on me because I was like that big. And yes, that was it. Yeah, white with maple neck.
Now I have read. I'll throw this out there, Brandon. The only thing I do with music is I put CDs in a slot and I put an album on and I listen to it when it comes to music. But I've read in the past the Strat is one of the harder guitars to master, a Stratocaster, as opposed to say a Les Paul or something like that. Is there truth to that?
Well, okay. A Strat has its own identity, and sometimes a Strat can be it can be like Stevie Ray called it, like you can sting it, you can sting it and everyone's going to hear it. You can floor it. The only thing that it doesn't necessarily do to and this is my opinion, is if you're in a heavier rock scenario, it doesn't necessarily fit in. It's not as distorted, or doesn't have as much gain output as a Les Paul. So it just has its, but the thing is, like, when I go to the studio, I always want a Strat. I want a Gibson Les Paul standard, and I want a Telecaster and a great acoustic. So everything kind of serves a purpose in the arsenal, but I think it's an easier guitar to play than a Les Paul. Les Paul is a hell of a lot heavier. But man, they're both just beautiful, and they're in their own skin and what they do for the songs.
Yeah, I think I got turned on to him when, well, obviously you mentioned Stevie Ray, and then Gary Moore, was just a beast, so very, very cool there. Now, you started playing it around 8. Did you take lessons? Were you self-taught? Anything like that?
I did take lessons for about 3 months. And, well, actually, I started on bass guitar first.
Okay.
I didn't like it. At 8, I started on bass. I didn't like it. It was not my bag. All right. My brother was a drummer. You'd think a drummer and a bass player, we would gel a little bit, and I could dance around his grooves, but it wasn't up front enough for me. I wanted to be up front, and to I remember Wayne's World came out with the word wail, like, oh, she wails. I wanted to wail, so yeah, around 9 to 10 I switched to guitar and never looked back.
Excellent. Very cool. You speak about your brother. Of course, you played with him, in bands for a long, long time, and then you sort of, parted. He wanted to give up life on the road. He's now a police captain, I see.
Correct. Yep.
Go ahead. I did what my daughter called stepped on your words.
Yeah, no worries. No, he just became a police captain a week ago. We celebrated over last weekend, and he was a wonderful drummer. He was a wonderful songwriter. A lot of my milestones and touring and cutting my teeth were with him. And we were kids essentially with no money, and we did it. We did a lot of very, very cool things, and it opened doors for me when he decided to leave. It's like, all right, well, I have a lot of connections here. Let's see who wants to do what. And everyone, well, not everyone, but a large majority said, well, if you go this way, let's do this. For instance, I ended up with the Cinderella guys, Jeff LeBar and Eric Brittingham. Yeah. And we hired the drummer from Collective Soul. And we just, we toured the world. Yeah. If I didn't have that early pay your dues ride with the Gibbs brothers, I probably wouldn't have had those opportunities.
Right. And then after Gibbs brothers, you did you booked yourself on a bunch of lounge shows, right? To really just sort of find your way a little bit. You speak about finding your voice. You sang songs that were hard on purpose to work at it, you know?
Yes, I did. And it was a pitiful time in my life, but also it was I was becoming something I could sell, lack of a better word, sell to the next stage of my life. I played a Ramada. Me and my acoustic guitar, and I wasn't the singer in the Gibbs brothers. I was the guy that did harmony. Right. And so I played a Ramada. I was booked there for a year. It was like 3 days a week. And I'm not kidding. It was the most non-glamorous gig you've ever played. But it had a paycheck, and those 13-year-olds that were eating pizza on their birthday party they just really enjoyed themselves. But I had to find my voice as a singer, and I do credit that opportunity to how, when I moved to Tennessee, how I was perceived. I could sing, and nothing really fazed me. I had a direction. I'm like, well, I know this. My first band's done, and I'm sure as hell not going back to the Ramada. Right. So this has to work.
But so, if you stop and think of it, if you hadn't have been there, you wouldn't be here.
110%. It was 3-hour shows, and the one thing that was kind of funny is there was a water park in there, so they had the steam and the heat up, and I'm not kidding. It was the hottest show. Even in the middle of winter, it was the hottest show that you could play. But it taught me to find my voice. I learned how to sing as best as I could, and I think I credit that to, like you said, where I'm at now as a singer and songwriter.
Yeah. What was one or two songs that when you finally got them down, you find, I've got it. What was one you struggled with to get, and then when you finally got it, you felt really good about nailing it?
Well, I'll use Voodoo Child by Jimi Hendrix. I used to close shows, and I still do occasionally with that song, because it's really easy to breeze through that song and not put enough blood and heart into it. When you pay attention to the song and you let it sink in, and you've done your homework, and it's in here, that song can be a whole different level at times. And even though, like, every blues guitar player wants to play Voodoo Child, can you really hear what Jimmy did with it? Can you hear what Stevie did with it? Can you hear the dynamics, the ups and downs, the bends? Those bends are not half bends. Those bends are almost to the other side of the fretboard. It made me a passionate, that particular song, it really fueled my passion to floor my audience with my guitar playing as much as I can. But it took a hot minute, as they say.
Yeah. Speaking of all this, I want to go back to the chess thing for just a second. Was with developing to be that good of a chess player, were you able to draw anything from that you applied to music or your life or anything? Teach you like discipline or strategy or anything?
Strategy, discipline, yes, both those. Also where to okay, where your team is at when you're a dreamer like myself, where your team is at, who's on your side. Are they protecting you? Are you protecting them? Is this thing moving forward, or are we in a stalemate? I mean, I've applied all of that to just business, and it's very easy for me to recall, all right, we're getting flanked over here. Maybe we should do something different. Maybe we should go up the middle. I actually used in a demonstration at a high school, I used the pawn as a just a demonstration. The pawn is the weakest one on the board, but he guards everybody, and when he gets all the way down to the end of the board, he turns into whatever piece he wants. Well, typically it turns into a queen, which can move any direction that almost any direction that the other pieces can't, and it can just whoop some butt. Yeah. And so that's just kind of like, hey man, you're going to get tagged, you're going to get taken, you're going to get put back in place. But if you get down to the end of it, you might own a piece of something, and you might transform. So I've always used chess as that's a great question, by the way. I've always used it as a great way to measure what I'm going to do and who I'm going to be with, who I'm going to surround myself with, and so forth.
Cool. Let's go back to the My Own Way video for a second. Who's the big guy in the video? He plays a great role.
Oh, he's an actor.
Oh, really? I was waiting for you to say, oh, that's a friend of mine.
No. And it was a pleasure working with him. And forgive me, I can't remember his first name, because he spent 2 hours with me. And this is the first conceptual video that I've ever done where I'm acting. And so this cat, Emil, was recommended to me by my bass player, Hunter, to, hey, check him out, man. He's not a film school student, but he's just out of this world amazing. He's got the state-of-the-art equipment. He's got a great business mind. And so I said, we have this single coming out. He goes, well, what are your thoughts? And I said, I just think, what if we portray a meeting kind of gone wrong, or a meeting in which the outcome flips? I'm no longer so happy to be there. I'm also just as ready to stop hearing BS and get a straight line deal. And so he goes, I got this dude that looks like he's from The Sopranos or something.
Yeah.
And so, yeah, that was a professional actor. And I've always wanted to act. That was my first, time being an quote actor. And that guy really coached me to, talk a bunch of stuff, talk whatever comes out of my mouth. I don't care if it's elephant, kangaroo, green grass, whatever, as long as I look like I'm passionate about it. And cool. I thought that was cool.
Yeah, very cool. So shoot, I had a thought as you were saying that. Now I've lost it. Hopefully I'll come back to it. Brain fart, I guess we'll call it.
No worries.
If I think of it, I'll come back to it. You talk about your family playing a big role, and that's such a big thing. Tell us about, your mom, your dad, your grandfather, stuff like that. The little lessons or little things that they did to help you along the way.
Well, they were just, they didn't treat me like, they didn't treat me like an outcast because of my, my choice. I wanted to be a musician. I wanted to entertain. And I never got, well, if this doesn't work out, blah, blah, blah. Yeah. I never got that. For Christmas, if my grandpa or my dad knew that I needed guitar cables for gigs, that was what I was opening. If, I needed an amp repair and I didn't have any money, they would help me with it. I just, that to me changed my life. And like my knuckles, has my grandfather. It's a memorial. It's got his name, Hank Gambini, the year he was born, the year he passed away. Because I wouldn't have done my first national touring show if he didn't take me to go do it. And it wasn't like to him, it was an honor. He saw something, and a lot of grandparents at that age would have been like, oh, this is a waste of time. I mean, I've heard it 100,000 times. He didn't think that way. He thought this is a stepping stone, and you put enough tools in your box, all of a sudden you're working on your own. So that's really why I love my family so much, is because there's been high moments, down moments, really low moments, but we're always backing each other, and the dream is alive. I mean, we literally have each other's back to the end. So that's why I'm such a strong family man, is I've never met a friend, a confidant, whatever, as close as the ones that are blood, the ones that I call blood.
Yeah, that's awesome. Awesome. You've got a gig coming up August 28th in Knoxville, Illinois, Big Cat's barbecue, excuse me. Anything else lined up after that? Are you guys waiting, or what's the situation as far as like touring and trying to get out and play? It's sort of up and down these days.
It's up and down, but we do have that show. It's the Big Cat's Barbecue outdoor Budweiser stage in Knoxville, Illinois, which will be live. My partner, Joe Kosha, formerly of Collective Souls, flying in for this. So there's sure to be some guitar, battling and just having some cutting up and having some fun. And then I have a band called Cheap Thrill,
right?
Which has a week, 6 days straight, actually, in the Wisconsin, Chicago area in September. And then my partner from Whitesnake and I do a bunch of New York dates in October. And then pending, we do have a 10-day Europe. I have a 10-day Europe tour.
Right.
And then go back in the studio and try and finish this Brandon Gibbs record.
Yeah. Now, by your partner in Whitesnake, of course, you're talking about Joel Hoekstra.
Yeah.
These are like campfire gigs or something, I think I read. You call them? What do you?
Yeah. So it's funny. Him and I met at a meet and greet. We were both doing a meet and greet in like Nassau or something like that. We were on a cruise, and I woke up and looked at my itinerary, and it was meet and greet with Joel Hoekstra of Whitesnake. And funny story, the year before, I did a meet and greet or something on a same company. I did a meet and greet, and I had dressed up for it. I got a bunch of crap. Like, oh, don't you know how to relax? Where's your swim short? So this one, I was like, well, I got the heat last time. I said, I got some butterfly swim shorts and a t-shirt. I go to the meet and greet, and he's fully dressed in rock gear, and I completely look like his roadie.
That's great. That's
it's
cool.
So funny. I tell this all the time, and anywho, we signed a few records, and then I got back home and I said, hey man, that was a lot of fun. Do you want to do acoustic, 2 guitars and some of my songs and your songs? He says, yeah, let's do that. Well, the first stop along the way was a casino in Milwaukee, I believe, and our stage was the campfire stage.
Okay.
So I just ran away with it. I said, all right, this is a campfire tour, because essentially it is. And there's like zero production, lights, and it's just us geeking out on guitars. So that's where that came from.
That's cool. I saw him when he was with Trans-Siberian Orchestra a number of years ago. And I'll never forget, it was towards the end of the show. We were sitting second row, and he came down and he played right in front of us. I mean, he was so close I could hear his fingers hitting the strings, And
that's killer.
There's people all around us, and I'm looking at him and watching him. He's got that perma smile on his face that he always has, And I took just a second to look at everybody else, and everybody had their friggin' phones out. And I'm like, people, come on. He's standing right in front of you. Make some eye contact. Maybe go for a quick fist bump or something. Instead they had their phones out. I remember being so pissed. I was like, come on,
He's I sing his praises all the time, because anytime you get a chance to see Joe Hoekstra play, you need to know that he is he's in the top 10 best guitar. I mean, best guitarist in the world.
Yeah.
Currently, I mean, well, and maybe it's the Brandon Gibbs currently, but I feel like there's a ton of other people that feel the same. He's an anomaly. He is so good. And you would miss out on a life-changing experience if you were to do it through a phone. So I completely understand. I mean, even when I played with him, I'm like, where did that come from? And hey, you know, can you show me that real quick? You know?
Yeah.
So
yeah, to be that close, like I said, I could literally hear his fingers hitting the strings. I'm like, this is cool, you know.
Yeah.
The other guy I got to ask you about, because I was a fan of this guy from day one. I hope you're not sick of telling this story. I want to hear about Jeff Healey playing your guitar.
Yeah, I'm not sick of this story one bit. So we got at, excuse me, I begged, let me rephrase this. We didn't have management early on, and it was the whole family kind of trying to do it themselves. And I asked this promoter, I said, this is right before I was going to bed. I sent an email. I said, hey, I really, really want to be on the bill with Jeff Healey. This is our resume. This is what we do. And I didn't expect anything because, you know, I'm in the early stages, you're turned down 200 times before you get a yes. And lo and behold, she called her house. And she said, hey, is this the Brandon that emailed me? And I said, yeah, her name's Barbara Strauss from Sarasota. She goes, your email inspired me. And it was funny, to be honest. At the same time, I think I left a tagline like, trust me, you have to have something like stupid. You know, I'm trying to sell my band. I don't know nothing about selling. Anywho, we go down. It was our band, the Gibbs brothers, Eric Sardinez, who's a wonderful slide guitar player, and Jeff Healey. And I am in awe. I just opened for Jeff Healey, and I'm sharing a gigantic Sarasota Blues Fest stage with Jeff. And at the end of it, promoter comes up to us. We're getting ready to leave to go back to the Midwest. And he goes, hey, I know you guys aren't 21. And okay. He goes, I want you to come to my club. It's called the Classic Wax in Sarasota, Florida. Really small blues bar. PA hanging from the ceiling, but it was the stage a little bit bigger than a kitchen table. He goes, I got this after party happening and everyone's going to be there. So I asked my parents, I said, can we go? And they said, if we can go with you. Right. And so the promoter goes, oh, by all means. Yeah. So we go in there and 215 people was like a stadium in there. That's how small it was. But there was every person from that blues festival that they could squeeze in there. All of a sudden over the mic, they say, hey, Gibbs brothers, Brandon and Brent, come up here and do a song, right? I'm going, oh my God, you know. So I go up there and we just start rolling through a blues song, and it felt so natural, and the crowd was just booming. And in my peripheral, I could see a black limousine pull up because there's a big window behind us. Right. And all of a sudden I saw Jeff Healey get out, and the guy, his assistant or whatever, had his elbow and walked him through the bar, and everyone was like, oh, you know. They sit him at the bar, he orders a beer, and then he just turns around and looks at us. Well, not looks at us, but you know what I mean? He's facing us. Right. And so is his assistant. And then all of a sudden his assistant comes up. What's that comedian, Sam Kennison? Is that his name? Yeah. He looks exactly like it. And he comes and he goes, Healey wants to play your guitar. I go, oh, are you kidding me? You know. So anyways, they bring Jeff up through the crowd. His band picks up it's a trap set, you know, little 112 blues amps everywhere. And Jeff goes, hey man, do you mind if you take that whammy bar off for me? I go, oh yeah. Take the whammy bar off. He goes, take that strap off too, man. I might get up and dance around. I'm like his tech right now. So anyways, he just danced all over the strings, and then he started playing. And my mom has a goofy picture of me doing one of these, but it changed my life. I mean, it also taught me something about, humility, and he didn't have to be there, and he didn't have to be in a packed, sweaty club. He just loved the music that much that he wanted to see what was going on. So I try and take a piece of that with me, wherever I go. But I mean, actually, here, this is it's on my kitchen table. This is the guitar ready to play on.
Very cool. Wow, that's awesome. So you talked about, we talked about the date you've got in Knoxville. Whereabouts in Illinois is Knoxville, Illinois? Upper, lower?
To be honest, I don't know. Okay. I don't really know.
Only reason I asked, I was born in Rantoul, Illinois, when my dad was in the Air Force out there. So I just, curiosity.
I don't. I can tell you this. I'm going to be finding out real shortly.
Exactly. You better. Yeah. So you got that gig coming on. You mentioned the Cheap Thrills. You're trying to finish up the album. Do you have stuff like in the can? It's just a matter of finishing, or is there still stuff to be recorded before we're going to see the full Brandon Gibbs album?
There's still stuff that needs to be recorded. The only thing I can tell you that we're working on right now that some people have already heard is 10 years ago, I wrote this song called This Town, and it was actually on ESPN for 2 or 3 seasons for the NHRA drag racing season. And we are going to do a 10-year anniversary of that song. Just do it, hype it a little bit differently and see what comes out of it. So, but the rest of it's going to be a surprise.
Very cool. Very cool. Look forward to hearing that. Definitely. Brandon, I always like to end with sort of some fun, silly questions. I'm hoping these are questions you've never been asked. Sound good?
Okay, man.
First car you bought with your own money?
1982 Mustang GT 5-liter.
Nice. Last music other than your own that you listen to?
It would be, well, it'd probably be my wife's music. It'd probably be something from One Republic.
Okay. All right.
I listen to that singer a lot because he's just got a range that's out of this world. So usually at the end of the night, she's a little bit younger than me, so I kind of take her advice on the singers I should listen to excel, and I believe it was One Republic.
Okay. Favorite old school wrestler?
Oh, it's got to be Macho Man Randy Savage.
All right. Favorite toy growing up as a child?
Slingshot.
If you could speak any language instantly, what would you pick?
Probably Spanish, because I have so many friends from Texas that sometimes they're talking with you and then their other friends are there and they go into something else, and everything that they say sounds so delicious. It sounds like a menu.
Yes.
You know what I mean? I'd probably go. I would like to learn Spanish.
If you could go back in time and eat one of your mom's home cooked meals from your childhood, what would you have her fix?
You're gonna laugh. Totino's frozen pizza.
Nah, I believe it. Up here we have one called Tony's Pizzas. They came out of Mass, and every once in a while when we want to taste our youth, we cook up a Tony's pizza. So no,
well, it was my brother and I. We thought when she would bring us home frozen pizzas, we thought it was gourmet. We had no idea that it was a very cheap pizza. And so our birthdays when we were kids, you could see us with bibs on, like eating these little frozen pizzas. I remember the taste just talking about it.
Oh, that's awesome. That's definitely awesome. You've sort of had this happen, but we'll approach this something new as if it hasn't. If you could pick a television show to have one of your songs placed in, what would you pick? What TV show?
Peaky Blinders.
Peaky Blinders. All right. Give us a memory of something that decorated your teenage bedroom.
Oh, Aerosmith.
Aerosmith.
I had Joe Perry and Steven Tyler all over the place.
Very cool. Your winter, spring, summer, or fall kind of guy. Favorite season?
110% fall.
Fall. All right.
Give me that scarf and the cool jacket. I'm all about that.
Very cool. Last one. This is the one we have the most fun with. If they were to make a biopic of your life, what actor would you have play you? And it's your movie, your life. You can pick anybody.
I'm gonna go with Nick Cage.
Nick Cage. Okay, I could see that. I could definitely see that.
It's only because I impersonate him all the time, and I mean, he had some hair. I don't know. I get Nick Cage all the time. I don't know why, but
yeah. Brandon, has there been anything I didn't ask you, anything we didn't get to talk about during this interview that you would like to mention? The floor is yours.
No, man, you had really great questions. All the check our website. Please use our website, bgibbsmusic.com, to find your streaming services. All the information is there, as well as our Twitter. It's bgibbsmusic. Our Facebook, again, Brandon Gibbs, and then there's a Brandon Gibbs music page. Right. And then our Instagram is bgibbsmusic. So I'm very interactive, or I try to be. So come listen to music, connect if you'd like. And I think you have done a real good job of covering almost all of it, man. I really appreciate you having me.
All right. Thank you. I appreciate you taking the time for me out there. And hopefully if you ever get up here to the Northeast near Vermont, we'll hook up and go to a show and maybe have a beer together.
I would love that very much.
All right. Take care, Brandon. Enjoy the rest of your evening.
You as well, sir.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.